At a tense moment in global politics, senior U.S. officials delivered a blunt and unapologetic message. Their priority is not international approval, but American interests. Speaking before an international gathering, Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasized that while diplomacy remains important, his core responsibility lies elsewhere. He stated firmly, "I'm not there to make them happy. I get along with all of them on a personal level, but the people I'm interested in making happy are the people of the United States. That's who I work for." His remarks reflect growing friction between Washington and its traditional allies, particularly in Europe and Asia, over burden sharing in the escalating conflict with Iran. The current crisis stems from the widening conflict involving Iran, which has disrupted global shipping routes and triggered instability in energy markets. The Strait of Hormuz, through which a significant portion of the world's oil passes, has become a focal point of tension. Despite its global importance, U.S. officials argue that other nations have been reluctant to contribute meaningfully. Rubio pointed out that many of these same countries had previously downplayed conflicts elsewhere, especially in Ukraine, as not their responsibility. Now, he suggests those positions are being tested. He highlighted the imbalance by noting that the United States has contributed heavily to international conflicts, even when they were geographically distant. The United States is constantly being asked to help in a war in another continent, and yet when the U.S. had a need, it didn't get proper positive responses. This criticism aligns with broader frustration within the administration. Several NATO members have declined to participate militarily in securing the Strait of Hormuz, arguing the conflict is not theirs to fight. Rubio made clear that while the situation is critical for global energy markets, it is not equally vital for the United States itself. Very little of our energy comes through the straits. It's the world that has a great interest in that. This statement underscores a key strategic point. The U.S. believes it is being asked to bear disproportionate responsibility for safeguarding a resource that benefits many other nations more directly. The message to allies was unmistakable. If they rely heavily on Middle Eastern oil, they should step up. When questioned about specific military plans, Rubio declined to elaborate, emphasizing that tactical decisions remain the responsibility of defense authorities. At the same time, he hinted that the situation could change rapidly depending on Iran's actions. It can be open tomorrow if Iran stops threatening global shipping, which is an outrage and a violation of international law. Negotiations, he confirmed, are ongoing but indirect. Messages are being exchanged through intermediary countries with limited but tangible progress. Still, he avoided committing to any timeline or outcome, maintaining that the situation remains fluid. President Donald Trump echoed a similarly assertive tone, framing the conflict as one in which the United States holds the upper hand. He dismissed suggestions that Washington is eager for a deal with Iran, stating emphatically, "I'm not desperate, I don't care." Trump portrayed ongoing negotiations as a sign of Iranian weakness, claiming that pressure from U.S. military actions has forced Tehran to engage. At the same time, he refused to reveal operational details, arguing that transparency in such matters would undermine national security. One of the more striking elements of the discussion was Trump's openness to unconventional strategies, including the possibility of controlling foreign oil resources. When asked directly, he acknowledged it's an option. I wouldn't talk about it, but it's an option. He pointed to the U.S. approach in Venezuela as a model, describing it as a mutually beneficial arrangement. According to administration officials, oil revenues in Venezuela have increased significantly under U.S.-aligned policies, with funds being redirected toward public services rather than corruption.
Trump framed this as a success story for both countries, emphasizing economic gains for the United States. He repeatedly stressed that such arrangements could help offset the costs of military operations while strengthening strategic partnerships. Throughout the exchange, Trump also highlighted American military capabilities, particularly in missile defense and air dominance.
He described scenarios in which large-scale missile attacks were completely neutralized, emphasizing the effectiveness of U.S. technology. Out of the 101 missiles, every single one of them was shot down. Such statements are intended to reinforce the administration's narrative of overwhelming strength and deterrence. Trump also stressed that U.S. forces maintain control of the skies over contested regions, signaling confidence in continued operational superiority. Despite tensions with NATO allies, the administration praised cooperation from Gulf nations, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. These countries, Trump noted, have remained supportive despite being directly threatened by missile attacks. He suggested suggested that even if U.S. forces were to withdraw from the region, rapid response capabilities would allow them to return quickly if necessary, pointing to modern military mobility as a decisive advantage. A recurring theme in both Trump and Rubio's remarks was the United States' growing energy independence. Trump argued that the U.S. is less vulnerable to disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz than many other countries. We don't need the strait. We have so much oil. Officials reinforced this claim, noting that U.S. production exceeds domestic consumption and surpasses that of major producers like Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. This shift has reshaped U.S. strategic thinking, allowing policymakers to adopt a more assertive stance without immediate economic consequences at home. While military operations continue, diplomatic efforts remain underway. Rubio confirmed that indirect talks have led to measurable, if limited, progress, including increased energy flows through contested areas. However, he cautioned against premature optimism. We'll see how it turns out. I don't want to prejudge it. The administration appears to be balancing pressure and diplomacy, seeking concessions from Iran while maintaining military leverage. The tone of the remarks also reflected domestic political considerations. Both Trump and Rubio repeatedly emphasized accountability to American citizens rather than international partners. This framing aligns with a broader America First narrative, positioning the administration as prioritizing national interests above global consensus. Trump also used the opportunity to criticize media coverage, dismissing reports that portray him as eager for a deal. His remarks suggested confidence in both the U.S. position and the administration's strategy moving forward. The broader implications of the crisis remain significant. The disruption of the Strait of Hormuz has already affected global oil prices and supply chains, while allies remain divided on how to respond. Rubio's remarks highlight a growing divide between the United States and its traditional partners, one that could reshape alliances and international cooperation in the years ahead. The statements from Washington ultimately reflect a clear and consistent message. The United States will act decisively in pursuit of its own interests, even if that means acting independently. Rubio captured this stance most succinctly.